Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show here on WBCR 88.3 through the Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017, Associate Director of Alumni Engagement. And this week I am joined by a great legacy Siena family. We have Jensen McLenithan, class of 2020, and her brother Carson McLenithan, class of 2022. We're talking about their Siena experience, what it was like being a legacy family at Siena, and just life since Siena in the past 2.5 years. A reminder to everyone listening today that you can listen to the podcast on WBCR 88.3 through the Saint. You can subscribe to the Siena Alumni YouTube channel and listen to the podcast anywhere you get your podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Pandora. And I just want to thank Jensen and Carson for joining us today and taking some time out of your Friday to begin the weekend and talking to the Siena community.
Of course. Thanks for having us, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
We're here in mid-August. The summer went by pretty fast, at least for me. And a lot of people get upset, that summer's winding down. You got to go either back to school or you got to, get into that fall mode and kind of hunker down inside. But at Siena, it's always a great thing in August because we know that means the students are coming back to campus and you really get that Saint life back. And before we dive, into the podcast and talk about that Saint life, I know that Jensen and Carson, you guys have had a pretty busy summer. A lot of fun things have happened. Can you just kind of walk the audience through what you guys have been up to lately in this past few months? Jensen?
Yeah, of course. So in July, we took our famous family trip to Rye Beach, New Hampshire that we do every year. And our parents joke, are you going to continue to come with us? And we do every year. And then we were just talking before we started about I've gone to a few SPAC concerts, which have been nice. And then we just made a trip to the track for Carson's 100-day celebration, which was really fun to do as a family.
Yeah. And what about you, Carson?
Yeah, same for me. It's been a relaxing but busy summer. Doing a little like side work and applying for jobs and doing a lot of interviewing. But have a lot of fun times of like just getting going to Rye Beach and getting to hang out with friends and again seeing all my fellow graduates last Saturday at the Siena 100-day reunion. It was awesome.
You guys joke about that family vacation. After the podcast today, I'm actually hitting the road and going to Utica to go on my family vacation. We've gone camping at the same campsite for the last 25 years. It's Loop D62. It's the same site every year. We have the same setup, but it's the best. It's all five of us. We have a great time. We have hot dogs and hamburgers for 10 days, and it's the best. And, it's that family tight atmosphere that I love, and that's what people get at Siena. And believe it or not, to the audience listening today, we're just 2 weeks away from welcoming the incoming class. It's the third straight year that Siena is welcoming in a class over the size of 900. And it's a little bit different this year and last year because Siena has started this preview day where the incoming students can come onto campus for about 5 hours and just kind of look at the residential room, look at the dining hall, get their classes, and just kind of get acclimated to campus. And I know for Jensen and even for myself and probably for Carson too, we didn't have those preview type days to begin our college experience. So I want to take our audience back with you first, Jensen, and go back to your freshman moving day. I know it was a little bit ago, but what do you remember about that day and some of the experiences that you had when you first walked on campus and were a Saint?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just remember pulling up and thinking, I am home for the next 4 years. Every time I stepped on campus, I just immediately felt like it was home. And I've had so many other people share that same experience with me. Somehow, I had no clue that they unpacked us or at least unloaded our cars. I missed that glaringly obvious Siena tradition. And so I remember being slightly overwhelmed when the car was first swarmed. But it was just so sweet and so exciting. And then every year after, when I had to move myself in, I was like, I really miss those Saints. They travel with me. But I was so excited to get there with my roommate. I mean, we'd been talking all summer. She was from the town next to me. So I was able to hang out with her and we just were prepping and so excited. We got there right around the same time. And I just remember the hallway being filled with all of our stuff. We were in an end room. We had the dads in the stairwell putting things together. But it was just so exciting. It seems like a lifetime ago, which is the craziest thing. But yeah, I cannot believe that it'd be going into 5 years since I moved in, and I lived in Plasman Hall. So yeah,
it's crazy because for me it was 9 years ago. It's gone by in the blink of an eye. I remember my freshman moving day. Andy's my twin, another legacy family at Siena, which is a quick little plug for the Murphy family. But we lived together in Hines, and we had jam-packed 2 SUVs, to the fullest. And my brother Ryan was a senior at the time, and all of his friends were like, "Oh my God, we have to move in the Murphy twins." And they looked at the two SUVs and they were like, "Wait a second, I don't think I actually want to move in the Murphy twins." They're bringing a lot of stuff in. But I know for you, Carson, that's kind of a similar experience. You moved in your freshman year. Jensen was already on campus. What was that freshman move-in day like for you? Already knowing you had some family at Siena.
Well, I had the insider information that the car was being moved. It was actually funny because I was moving into Hines and Jensen was actually helping kids move into Hines that day as well. So it was, the car got swollen. The thing that I remember the most is that through my graduation of high school, I got custom made Siena cornhole boards. I remember they were on top. And when my dad opened the back of his truck, all the Siena kids went crazy. like this guy is going to have a lot of fun. Like his next 4 years with these. And I did. I used them all 4 years, but it was crazy. I just remember, like, as Jensen described it, the amount of hecticness, but so fun. You're meeting all these new people. You're trying to do stuff quickly, but also live in the moment. But there was just so many great things there. I moved in with a kid I barely knew, Max Schindler. It ended up being one of my best friends the whole time at Siena. I went random, and it was one of the things I actually thought was one of the best things that could have happened, going random and meeting one of my lifetime friends there. But again, it was awesome, and it went by in a blink of an eye.
It's interesting, Siena, it's something special about that Siena admission process. Like, you hear all the stories all the time, Carson, about people going in with their random roommate and they end up living together all 4 years at college, or they're actually roommates now after college. And it's something, I don't know how admissions does it and how community living does it, but they just know how to connect the right people together. And they've done that, for the entire time that Siena's been around. And I remember my move-in day, I, similar to you guys, I, parked the car, I went to go get my key to the room. And by the time I got my key to get to my room, everything was there waiting for me to move it in. Jensen, what about you? What was the room setup like for you? Did you have a roommate that you knew going in? Did you go in random? And then what was it like to move your brother into Hines? I didn't even know that, you had Hines that day, which is great.
Yeah. So we, like I said, we're in an end room. I can still remember the bunk beds going in. It was Gabby Vandewater, who I knew because she was from the town over. And then we did have a random with us named Olivia, who, again, it was so crazy. We all gelled. We just started talking and texting beforehand, and immediately, we had so many similarities, and we were like, how does this happen? Exactly how you said it. How does this happen? And so clearly, because there was 3 of us, we didn't stay together the full year. I ended up getting to move to Hines too. So I had 2 freshman doors, which was nice. I got upgraded to a sink.
The royal treatment.
Oh yes, when you get moved to Hines. But I loved Plasman too. And there was such great communities in both of them. And so Olivia transferred, but Gabby and I have remained friends, and she'll be a friend for life. And we still chat with Olivia once in a while, and we follow each other on social media. Yeah. And we always joke she went to another school that was green and gold. So we're like, she never fully left the green and gold.
It's bleed green and gold forever.
Yes. But no, moving Carson in that day, I had it down to a science by that point. So I was like getting the bed ready. I was like, we need to put the sheets on. We need to put this in your drawers. The closet goes like this, because I'd moved in 3 times by then.
That's right.
But it was such a great day just being around campus as a family. It was one of the first days I felt like we were all together as a family on campus. And I always talk about one of my favorite memories is being at the welcome barbecue, and I just was enjoying it because I wasn't nervous anymore. I was a junior, and Brother Ed walked up to our table and he was kind of saying hi to everyone. And I turned and I was like, oh, Carson, this is the guy I went to Italy with. He was one of our bus seatmates and stuff. And he did his typical Brother Ed move where he puts his hand on your shoulder and he put it on Carson's and mine. And it was in that moment, Carson was fully part of the Siena family. That was his welcome moment.
Yeah, I would say that's where I felt really connected to the camp. That's that was the president of the school, being so personable to you and walking right up, and that it's still it felt surreal, almost surreal to me at that point.
I tell the story all the time.
Brother Ed.
Yeah, just
Brother Ed.
I remember I had a similar experience. My freshman year was also Brother Ed's first year. He was the interim president at the time. Yeah. And he come up to me in the dining hall and he goes, how's your first week been, Murph? And I'm like, Brother Ed, I think you might think I'm Andy or my brother Ryan, because they were on student senate at the time and I wasn't super involved yet. And he goes, no, I know you're Brandon. I know you're this other twin. And brother had that, just personality and comfort level about him. And he just knew everybody and made you feel at home at Siena. And that's what I kind of want to pivot to you, Carson, because, you had your sister here and you kind of had some of her friends to walk you through a little bit of the life in freshman year. What was that like to come onto campus? Were you guys involved in some of the same clubs? Was, some of her guy friends your saint that brought you through orientation weekend? What was that first semester like for you?
It was really great because even though like you want to like meet all these new people and you want to get out there with like your grade, I always had like the safety net of Jensen's friends and stuff like that. They really like took me under their wing. I would say like all of those guys like Lucas, Wayne, Kyle, Owen, like they really just like they treated me like a little brother, like Jensen did. And they showed me around. They always added me to their intramural teams. I was playing intramural teams with my friends in my grade, and I would jump to their team sometimes. I'd be like,
so you had no time to study, right? You were just playing games the whole time.
Yeah, but no, I was really thankful for that, because originally I didn't know if I wanted to go to the same school as Jensen. Maybe I want my own path. But as soon as like I knew I made the right choice right in the beginning, like having Jensen there and having all these people there that know me and like want me to do well really just helped me along.
And it's a great conversation that we're having, and it's crazy to think we almost got to take a commercial break right now. We got about a minute and a half left, so I just want to give the final thought to Jensen. What it was like, kind of maybe recruiting some of Carson's friends to come to Siena and then seeing them on campus, and then just being that presence for Carson and his friends to make sure they had a smooth adjustment into college life.
Yeah, I mean, it was so funny. So I was an ambassador, so I gave tours, and it just the way it timed up, a lot of Carson's classmates were seniors in high school that year or juniors. So like they were coming in and touring. And I remember walking around sometimes in Hines where he lived, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I know you. How do I know this girl? And I was like, oh my, they'd be like, you gave me a tour. We had the best tour with you, which is always sweet to hear as well. But I always joke, I felt like to Carson and his friends, I was like the academic advisor, the social advisor. I was a saint. I was an ambassador, a big sister. I was helping take this class with this professor. Oh, you should join this club. Oh, come join the marketing club with me. So it was funny. I've always been like the mom of a friend group too. So it was just completely natural to take them all under my wing. And I was so grateful my friends did the exact same thing and were always so welcoming to him and his group of friends.
I could say the same thing about my brothers. I think, some of my brother's friends and I were on SCB together, some of the same intramurals, and, just being in the dining hall together. And being a legacy family really does help shape the Siena experience a little different. And we're going to dive into that a little bit into the second segment about, some of those things outside of the classroom about being a legacy family and the overall Siena experience. So everybody listening, stay put. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. We're with the McLenithan family, and we'll be right back here on 88.3 The Saint. Welcome back to the Saints and Alumni Show here on WVCR 88.3 The Saint. I'm your host this week, Brandon Murphy, class of 2017, and I am joined by the legacy family at Siena, the McLenithans. We have Jensen, class of 2020, and we have Carson, class of 2022. Last segment, we talked a little bit about your first few years at Siena, what it was like being a legacy family and kind of that adjustment phase, and how a legacy family at Siena does help shape the experience overall a little bit differently than it does maybe for a non-legacy family, just because of that special bond. We always do say you become family here as a Saint, but there's something different about coming here with your siblings and a unique experience. So I wanted to again start with Jensen and just a little bit about some of the overall memories that you shared together on campus, outside of the classroom, outside of the clubs, maybe some of those impromptu times that you guys had together that made your time as a Saint together so special.
I was funny. A couple weeks ago, I said to him, I go, you know what I really miss? I miss getting grab and go lunch with you every day because that was our ritual. We got grab and go, and we'd go to my room, his room. Once I had a townhouse, we'd go back to my townhouse. My boyfriend joined us. We had a whole little grab and go group. And it's so funny now, like being on the outside, I'm like, oh, I wish I could just go get some chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, my absolute favorite. But that was always one of my favorite memories. And then we joke too, I brought him to bingo, and so I'd been going for 2 years, so I was a junior, so this was the third year going, and I was like, come on, it'll be fun, well, you can come with my friends. I've never won anything at bingo. I continually never won anything my 4 years there. Carson shows up the first time, wins at bingo. I was like, of course.
This is the first time freshman year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
first
yeah.
freshman year,
He
yeah.
came up with a snack bag, and I was like, "Are you joking? Like, how does this happen?" It wasn't the Apple Watch, at least. I would have been really hurt if that's what he got. But that was always one of my favorite things too. But no, we loved even just walking around campus together. It was the best thing to be able to call him and be like, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk?" Or our little Walmart trips and we'd go grocery shop. And it's such fond memories. And I can't imagine him not being there. Like, some people used to be like, "I can't believe you want your brother to go with you to college." And I was like, he's my best friend already. Like, this was the absolute best decision we could have ever made.
That was the best thing about, having Ryan on campus too. And a lot of people maybe listening today don't know that Siena freshmen can't have cars on campus. So I remember Andy and I, we were kind of the like the communal room in Hines, and a lot of people would come over on Sunday to watch football. And we'd have like Scooby snacks, and we'd have popcorn and chips. And then on Monday, I'd be texting Ryan, "Hey, like, Ryan, we don't have any food. Can you come pick us up and take us to Walmart so we can go get some snack food?"
Yeah.
Which is always a great thing. We talk about the food and the snack. And Jensen, you kind of left the audience on a little bit of a cliffhanger about the snack and go. What was the go-to meal for the McLenithans on campus when you guys were eating together? Was it a specific day that you guys would always get that grab and go together?
I mean, it was almost every day. That was we lunch a lot together.
I always would remember getting out of my first year sem class in Padua, and she was living in Padua at the time, and we would lately link up right there, and we would go right to
we had our schedule
right to lunch, and we would go back and eat in her room. So yeah, it was. I'm trying to think if go-to for me was always, I liked the General Tso's chicken that they had a lot. With the rice, she was always chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, no matter what. So like,
it's a safety net. You can't go
wrong.
Yeah,
safety net. I like diversity in my food. Jensen's very simple in that way. But
and it's great, you talk about getting out of class and being able to connect with one another. And it's also great to be able to connect, in the townhouses. And it's something that not a lot of colleges have, where 85% of the senior class or the junior class is up at the townhouses. And Carson, for you and I and Andy, we were lucky because our siblings had a townhouse at the time. And I remember just having an escape from the college life. Hey, I didn't do great on an exam, or I had a rough day in class, and I just needed to go lay on the couch and watch some TV with some friends. And I know, Carson, you took advantage of the townhouse living when Jensen was there. And Jensen was the one getting out of class and seeing you at the townhouse.
Yeah.
What was it like to have that?
I was lucky enough that Jensen, five other roommates really didn't care that I was there a lot. Some days I would get out of class and she would still be in class, and I would walk right over there and start making lunch for myself in the kitchen. That was when I was in Hennepin, so a little bit smaller of a room. It's like, well, time to go. And Jensen did a really good job, and her roommates did a really good job. They set their house up like an actual house, which I wish I could say that when we got a townhouse that my roommates did, but we did not. So it felt literally, the comfort level that I felt in that house felt like I was at home all over again. So I did take full advantage of her kitchen, her couch, even taking naps sometimes. It was, I definitely took advantage of that.
Now, Carson, are you cooking for the entire house? Are you going in there cooking a grilled cheese for yourself? What was the menu for you guys?
Well, we did make breakfast sandwiches sometimes. I know, and I would extend that to the whole house. Sometimes we would do group dinners and stuff. And Jensen, going back to Jensen's favorite chicken nuggets, I definitely chefed up some chicken nuggets in an oven and let the whole house have some food. But yeah, I definitely, it wasn't just for me. You have to share.
It's still community living all in all at the end, right?
Yeah.
And Jensen, we go back, to some great Siena experiences that everybody gets in. And every now and then, every other year, there's a new unique Siena experience that pops up that's being offered to the current students. And for you, it was the Siena Italy trip. Which is it's class in the fall semester, I believe, and then over winter break, it's a trip to Siena, Italy. But it's so unique that the Siena Friars are actually taking the students with them and kind of going on this journey together. For the audience that has no idea what this Siena, Italy trip is, can you kind of break it down and talk about what that experience is like?
Yeah, so I was a part of the inaugural class trip pilgrimage to Italy. We did 10 cities in 7 days. It was all headed by Father Mark. We took a class for a full semester, just really exploring the Franciscan tradition. I always say I never felt closer to my faith and also the school, just because we examined and learned everything. And then we got to go actually walk in the footsteps of St. Francis. It was the most incredible experience. And then to get to go with Father Mark, Father Larry, and then Brother Ed came too. So, I mean, how many kids get to go on a trip with the president of their college? That was just insane to me. And I think there was about 30 of us. So it was a very small group. We became so close. And it was so, like, just the architecture we saw, the things we learned, the food we ate, the wine we drank. It was so amazing. Father Mark's joked about, he's like, oh, we need to do an alumni and faculty trip. And I was like, I would be there in a second.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things where I joke, it wasn't quite a vacation. There was a lot of learning and walking, but one of the best experiences ever.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about, maybe some of the towns you guys went to? Did you
Yeah.
go to any specific cathedrals or museums that really struck a chord in you?
Yeah, so I think everybody in my group would say their favorite city that we visited was, no shocker, Siena. Everybody joked, even just being there, we could feel like the community spirit that we have at Siena there. I remember we were in this, I can't remember the name of what it was, but it's just kind of like this big town square. And we joked about how it reminded us of the quad. We were all sitting out there eating and everything. It's where they run the palio with all the horses in Italy, which is a huge thing. And it was just, that place was so amazing. And to be like, well, Siena College, Siena, Italy, you couldn't help but feel like the relationship with that place. And then we also, Rome, you can't not love Rome. That was so cool. We saw the Colosseum, but we also went to the Vatican. As somebody who, grew up and was raised Catholic, to go there, that is the most incredible thing. Our class didn't get to see the Pope, sadly, but I know classes after us have gotten a shout out and gotten to go to mass with him, but we had our own mass down in the catacombs, and it was incredible. And it was cool too to, be 20 and have a little freedom to wander Europe, but also have structured tours, so we knew where we were going, because I don't know if I could go just alone and do it all, but no, it was incredible.
I remember, I don't know if my twin Andy was on that trip or when
he was on the next one. Yeah.
And he talks about that trip with the friars. And I don't think I could even go to Italy for my first time unless it was with the Siena friars, just because the different perspective that they give. And for you, Carson, you also had a unique college experience in a different sense where, the pandemic kind of put that on hold for about a year and a half. But then you came back, senior year, and you got to, experience 95% of what most Saints get to experience their senior year. Can you talk about what it was like to go home for a little bit, but then come back and kind of get that one last hurrah college experience and it being your senior year?
Yeah, it was definitely tough at times throughout junior year, I would say, because it was a lot of obviously restrictions that they had to be put in place to even put, and it was really great. Siena did a really great job of letting us be on campus during that year, because I know so many colleges couldn't even do that, but it was like the coming out of a dark tunnel going into senior year. It was like everything was back in person. It felt like the normal college experience. And because again, Siena did such a good job with their mandates, it allowed us to have a fully normal senior year again. And it felt, and I always, when I would call Jensen, I'd be like, I feel so bad because Jensen's senior year was cut short, and that spring semester she didn't get that, even the senior week activities and stuff. I would be like, oh my God, Jensen, there's all this, everybody's outside right now, everybody's playing games. I wish, it's a beautiful day in April, I wish you could have experienced this. But it really made that that hard year so much more worth it to get that full senior experience, full Siena experience back.
I remember I first started at Siena in 2019. So I had 3 events, and then I was out of these super events again. And one of my first big events that I did was actually the class of 2022 kickoff party. And I know that you guys really took advantage of coming back out as a class and as a community to kind of have that last hurrah. And I always try to give advice to students, to take advantage of every opportunity that Siena gives. And we've got just about a minute and a half left again. And I just want to conclude on this note and begin with you, Jensen. For any Saints or any, future Saints that might be listening with the legacy families right now, what is, 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you would give to a Siena Saint to make the most out of the college experience?
Yeah, so my first thing that comes to mind is we are local. So we live an hour from Siena. So the weekend would come around and it was very easy to say, hey, mom, come get me. I'm ready to go home, especially when you're a freshman and you're feeling a little uneasy. And everything changed for me when I stayed my first weekend. And that is my biggest advice is do not be afraid to stay the weekend if you are a local student. That is like when everybody can finally take a step back from academics and relax, and you can build more relationships through doing different events that the school hosts or going off campus to go shopping at Crossgates or go to a movie. So that's my biggest advice. I also always think too, don't be too nervous if you don't gel right away with the girls or guys in your hallway or in your state group, because I made a lot of my friends through classes and group work, and there's a ton of group work at Siena. So your people are out there, I promise.
And Carson, we got about a minute left. I'll give the last word to you. Some advice to anybody listening today.
Yeah, so I have two things. Like always, as you just said, Siena offers so many great things on campus. Like, and I can go into like I got so many great internships directly on campus that I got to work with ESPN games. And even during the pandemic, I was filming basketball games and I was doing all these events. And I even made it. I was in the background on Sports Center because Siena made a really great top 10 play, but it was so great to like actually get all this real life hands-on experience directly on campus. And then what I would also say is kind of going off Jensen's point, I made new friends and lifetime friends every single year at Siena. So you always just get out there and get yourself involved in the community, because you don't, especially this last year, I met so many new people that were in my grade the whole time that I just didn't even realize, it was really great.
Well, Carson and Jensen, thanks so much for taking time out of your Friday to speak with the Siena community. It was great to see you last weekend and to see that you guys are both doing so great. I'm happy that you guys are staying local for the time being. Yes. And I know we'll catch up at some events and some basketball games in the future. And I want to thank everybody for listening today. We'll see you next time right here on WBCR 88.3 The Saint.